Ladies and gentlemen, I keep saying this. One reason I love President Trump is that he fights back. He's not like Bernie Sanders, Bernard Sanders. He's not like Bernie, who gets cheated and then blames Russia, knowing very well that it's all a bunch of nonsense. Bernie knows that Russia didn't swing the election because of Facebook ads. He's smart enough to know that. He engaged in a cowardly act by pushing a Steele dossier, CrowdStrike, a third-party tech firm outsourced by Democrats. Democratic Party, Debbie Wasserman Schultz fueled attempt at ousting a duly elected president. And also prior to that, a rigged Democratic primary. Bernard Sanders is the type of guy that's going to apologize. You punch me in the face and I apologize. You see how that goes? My face was flying towards your knuckles. And let me make sure that your fist is doing okay. Trump is the opposite. On Sean Hannity today, or a couple hours back, he stated categorically that it was an attempt to oust a presidency. He called it a coup. And it is. The Mueller probe. Like, MSNBC is interesting. They're like, oh, he obstructed justice. Well, then why wasn't he charged? Don't tell me that the Mueller team... Look, the whole point of the Mueller probe is to find out if the president was whispering sweet nothings into Vladimir Putin's ears before the election to ensure that Hillary would lose. If he had done so, if there was any evidence of collusion, you better believe he would have been indicted. If let's, for example, say that it's true that bodily fluids rained down upon him, and the Steele dossier, which is a garbage document, let's just say it's true that Manafort and Gates and Papadopoulos and Flynn, who's an honorable man who should be pardoned, and all these people, Carter Page, met with Russian intelligence officers, okay, at the behest of President Trump, and he told people to do so, and he coordinated with the Russian government and intelligence officials, which is what the Steele dossier states, complete bogus, nonsensical, irrational. It's like Debbie Wasserman Schultz or a Democratic operative wrote it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Christopher Steele wrote it. Oh, okay. He was paid by Clinton. Got it. Okay. Let's say that happened. He would have been indicted under the statute that I talk about in my Federalist article. My Federalist article, Comey, Strzok, and McCabe will be charged under a specific statute. It's the U.S. Code 371 statute. They wanted to charge Trump. There's no collusion statute. They wanted to charge Trump under the statute that deals with people who conspire to defraud the United States government. I explained in my Federalist article prior to the latest one, which is James Clapper knew there was no Trump collusion, Trump-Russia collusion in 2016. Share that everywhere. But they wanted to charge Trump under that and people around him under that statute. They couldn't. So this whole nonsense about obstruction, well, you'll hear Trump in a moment, but don't believe the hype and the nonsense that there was obstruction and that they couldn't charge Trump of obstruction because he's a president. No, those are two internal memos in the DOJ. One is a Bush era and another is a Watergate era memo. And they say, well, you can't indict a sitting president. Oh, yes, you can. If he's committed major crimes and you have evidence of that, the Mueller probe would have. They don't have evidence that he actually obstructed any part of the investigation. And they say, well, MSNBC said, oh my goodness, there's a really wonderful man who actually inspired me. A judge on Fox who's awesome. I love the guy. But he was saying how, Trump did this and Trump did that. I respectfully disagree. If they could charge Trump on anything, a jaywalking ticket, they would have done so. They would have done so. And what took place was this. It was an unlawful probe to begin with. They utilized the Steele dossier purchased by Clinton. They outsourced analysis of the DNC servers with a third-party tech firm, CrowdStrike. The ODNI and DHS, the Director of National Intelligence and the Department of Homeland Security reports, and the FBI reports, come with warranty disclaimers that I explain in my latest Federalist article. By the way, today I will be uploading my new AR on HA Second Amendment. I'm going to actually change it back to HA. It's now HA2A. I'm going to change it back to HA Second Amendment, but I have an AR-15, and it's awesome. California compliant, and I'll be uploading the unboxing of it. So check that out on HA Second Amendment or HA2A, whatever the heck the name is now. That will be below. You'll see in the pinned comment a whole bunch of different segments. So check that out eventually on that channel. But today. But let's get to President Trump. He confirms without a shadow of a doubt, and he uses the C word, which is the absolute truth, ladies and gentlemen. Look, Bernard Sanders should have tweeted like Trump, hey, you cheated me, this is what you did, and I'm fighting back. Now you have this farce. Clinton is running again. She's running again, ladies and gentlemen. You think Biden doesn't even want to run? They ask him, like, why do you want to run? He's like, you have to ask Democrats. That's not an answer. It's like, you don't want to make the country better or, protect the American people, or I don't know. But here's President Trump.
For that election, what would that mean to you?
Well, first of all, I was very impressed that the New York Times did that, because that was the first good glimpse that maybe mainstream is going to pick up the greatest political scandal in the history of our country. Again, bigger than Watergate, because it means so much. This was a coup. This wasn't stealing information from an office in the Watergate apartments. This was an attempted coup, and it's inconceivable, like a third world country, and inconceivable. And I have to say that I think a lot of information is coming out, and it's coming out fast, much faster than anybody would have thought. And there are a lot of people very nervous about things that are going on. And I will say that IG, the Inspector General Horowitz, he, other than his conclusion where he said no bias, but he meant that in a different way than you would think. He gave a great report last time, and I really hope that he's going to I don't know him. He was appointed by Obama. That bothers me a little bit, but I think everything I can see, he's really an honorable guy. And I think he knows how big this is. And if he is as honorable as he's supposed to be, the IG report coming out in 3 or 4 weeks, from what I hear, is going to be and should be and almost has to be a blockbuster, because he has access to information that most people don't. And that's what he did the last time. He was able to find things that a lot of people, great students of this whole thing, like Devin Nunes, who deserves a medal, and Meadows and Jim Jordan and all these guys, the way they Biggs and every one of them, they worked so hard.
So the IG report is coming out, and President Trump has stated categorically, even before he talked about the IG with the FISA abuses, look, they engaged in an attempted coup. It didn't work. President Obama's administration is perhaps the most corrupt in American history. Far more than Nixon. Because Nixon didn't try to oust a duly elected president. you had this insidious union of media, Hollywood, and I voted for Obama twice. You have to understand, when Obama won, I was crying tears of joy. But his presidency turned out to be a disgrace. And he knew his own Secretary of State had servers outside of the United States government, where she transferred top secret and special access program intelligence. Imagine if Aldrich Ames and Robert Hansen did this. These are two of the biggest, traitors in American history. Now they say, well, the Soviets. Traitors defend their decisions by saying, the enemy wasn't helped by what we gave them, but they gave top secret intelligence and classified data to the Soviets. Okay, imagine if they had servers outside of the United States government. Clinton had servers outside of the United States government. The problem is that nobody really understands or knows anything about this. It's not discussed. The reason I bring up and repeat things all the time on my channel is that these are the greatest, most grandiose issues of our time in terms of cybersecurity and government. She managed somehow, we don't know how, she managed her team, Brian Pagliano and others, to transfer top secret intelligence outside of the United States government into her basement. And then she just gave all of her emails, even the top secret emails, to Platte River and Dato Inc. They're in a world of trouble when Trump decides, whenever he decides. It's never good. Look, it's like the old, the guy downstairs comes to you and says, hey, you can have this new Corvette, just make this deal. You can have this new Ferrari. You can have all the fame, everything you want. Just sign on the dotted line. Yeah. You'll have everything you've ever wanted. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really work out, now does it? That's no good deed goes unpunished when you're with the Clintons. When you try to help the Clintons, look, you think Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and Andrew McCabe and James Comey and Clapper and Brennan, were pen pals with Bill and Hillary? No. But they were representing a side that Bill and Hillary lead. And what they did was, like I always say, no good deed goes unpunished. Now they're on the hot seat. And Clinton and Hillary will be the last one to be indicted. The last one. And it'll happen after she loses yet again to President Trump. Look, they're already giving polls out saying Biden can beat Trump. He's up by 8 points. Biden can't win Florida when it's Trump-Biden, or Ohio, or Michigan, or Pennsylvania. Maybe Wisconsin, but President Trump has 500,000 manufacturing jobs that he's brought to this country. 300,000 were lost under Obama. Biden represents the Obama administration. Clinton's running again because Clinton paid for 2 years of a coup attempt. And on Sean Hannity, he explains, Hannity exclusive, Trump says tables have turned in Russia probe. They're trying to get him on obstruction, but they could have gotten him on anything they wanted to. They wanted to indict Trump. They would have loved to. This nonsense that they couldn't, and gosh, there's no reasonable prosecutor stuff, that's Comey's nonsense. Comey will go down as one of the most unethical, corrupt, disgusting politicians. He was not really a politician, but essentially he was a politician. And he went back and forth, and he wrote the Comey letter, and the Comey letter is what did Clinton in. The Comey letter is what did Clinton in, not any Facebook ads. That's absurd. There's zero evidence that any Facebook ad swung the election. Zero evidence. And the vice president of Facebook states that most of the Facebook ads were seen after the election. The Comey letter was an admission that classified data was seen after that classified data was found on Uma Abedin's laptop after a cover-up attempt. See, it was a failed cover-up attempt because she actually committed numerous crimes. With Trump, they're like, oh, his lawyer said this. His James Comey said that. Michael Cohen said this. It's not, he could have fired Mueller easily and said, where's the evidence? Why are you investigating me? You have that right. If it's an unlawful probe and you're the president of the United States of America, you can ask, hey, look, you know what? This is now a political ploy. You're now simply helping the Democratic Party. Where's the evidence? Oh, no evidence, because they found out that Mueller knew there was no collusion before the midterms. So this was a political endeavor, and it wasn't to help Biden. It wasn't to help Amy Klobuchar make salad eating great again, or Elizabeth Warren, who couldn't raise like $1. She failed her DNA test. How do you even do that? That's crazy. Or Bernard Sanders. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet because that's the Huffington Post called me that, and the Washington Post called me the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, because for a long time I thought that President Obama, I thought that Democrats were on the side of justice, or that they were the moral, there was morality there, I thought. And then I said, wait a second, why is President Obama sending Americans off to the same counterinsurgency conflicts that Bush sent them off to? Why is he continuing? Why is he going after all these people and Espionage Act more than any other president? And what's going on here? And then, this is a very interesting one. Drinking water. You know what? I can't. If anyone had the misfortune of debating me regarding President Trump and racism, I would say, gosh, what if President Trump drank Flint water and said to the citizens of Flint, many of whom are Black Americans and African Americans and minorities, Latinos and white people, and if he said, oh, this water is great. Imagine if President Trump said that. This water is great. It's fantastic. That's what Obama said. What do you think all the pearl-clutching moralists, the morality police on Twitter would say? Oh my God. This is an example of supremacy tiki torch enabling every other dumb phrase you could think of. This is the rise of nationalism. But that wasn't rising when Obama was like, this is great water, yeah. Or when he just allowed the security forces to brutalize Native Americans at Standing Rock. Or when he destroyed an African nation. I mean, Obama got away with everything. He got away with everything. And Trump is like, he tweets something, oh my God. We used to be respectable. Now look at us. It's like, give me a break. But he is calling out what it was. It was an attempted coup. This is not a break-in, like a low-level break-in into a building. Okay, and then a cover-up of a break-in into a building. This is a fabricated hoax paid for by Hillary Clinton, who's running again. Then you have this is John Solomon. Then you have Clinton working with the Ukraine. I mean, it never ends. Not only did she purchase a Steele dossier, how the President Obama's White House engaged Ukraine to give Russia collusion narrative an early boost. As Donald Trump began, this is John Solomon, as Donald Trump began his meteoric rise to the presidency. Oh, Lord. As Donald Trump began his meteoric rise to the presidency, the Obama White House summoned Ukrainian authorities to Washington to coordinate ongoing anti-corruption efforts inside Russia's most critical neighbor. The January 2016 meeting, confirmed by multiple participants and contemporaneous memos, brought some of Ukraine's top corruption prosecutors and investigators face-to-face with members of former President Obama's National Security and FBI State and Department of Justice. The agenda suggested the purpose was training and coordination, but Ukrainian participants said it didn't take long to realize Americans' objectives included two political hot investigations, one that touched Vice President Joe Biden's family. Wow. And that's a whole other. And one that involved a lobbying firm linked closely to then candidate Trump. U.S. officials kept talking about how important it was that all their anti-corruption... Okay, so... And then goes on to... And they did this at the behest of Hillary Clinton. So it goes on to say that, yeah, they wanted to give the Russia collusion narrative a boost. Now we have more concrete evidence that the larger Ukrainian government was also being pressed by the President Obama's administration to help build the Russia collusion narrative. And that onion is only beginning to be peeled. Look, ladies and gentlemen, when you watch this channel, remember something. They'll never, ever, ever see the light. Like, people on the left, they don't care. There could be a letter written saying, oh, I don't know, we will stop Trump. And then they'll just disregard it. Yeah, Peter Strzok wrote in a text message to his lover, we will stop Trump. And they don't care. They're like, oh, well, that doesn't mean bias. Meanwhile, we have to listen to Clinton the other day on Time Magazine, subconscious bias. It's like you learned about this in like high school, like humanities class in high school or philosophy class. Like, everyone has a bias. Get over it and live your life and strive to work hard. Strive to succeed. My God Almighty. My God Almighty. What kind of human being blames all their failures on external factors? Oh, that's right, Democrats and Hillary Clinton. After they cheat Bernie. Bernard Sanders is going to go down, unfortunately, as... Like, had he fought back, he would have been discredited. He would have been marginalized. Oh, my God, he would have been marginalized. They would have gone after him, but he would have done something important for this country. I'm not going to go into my spiel. Let him continue the Russia myth and then endorse Clinton. When Bernie endorses Clinton for the second time, and everyone from TYT to the Washington Post endorses Clinton again, it will prove everything I've ever said about the Democratic Party, liberals, and the left, especially when I was on the left. Especially when I was on the left. It'll prove everything I've ever said. By the way, I'm not on Twitter. I think I'm going to have to say this every single segment. I'm not on Twitter. So, I just find it hilarious that there's like parody accounts. But anyway, you have collusion with the Ukraine and collusion with the Steele dossier, allegedly with Russian sources, all from Hillary Clinton. But the Mueller probe is a bunch of gossip and nonsense, just like, the Mueller report, which, I read the Mueller report, the ODNI, DHS reports, and it's a bunch of nonsense. They didn't indict him because they couldn't indict him. There was no evidence. Why did they even do 2 years of a probe if they weren't going to indict the president? If they didn't think they could indict the president, why the special counsel? Okay? Why the special counsel? He committed a crime. Or no, they're trying to say he committed crimes, and they found no crimes at all, and it was all fabricated, and it was an attempted coup. And Trump is 100% right. The Sean Hannity interview is great. It's like the reason that one of the reasons I loved past tense Bernie Sanders, I thought he was a fighter. He wanted to bring back Americans from counterinsurgency conflicts. He wanted to just, shake up the system. Trump is shaking up the system. My Patreon is below if you want to support my voice. Share my article in the Federalist everywhere. Thank you.